All right, without further ado, I'm going to pull up our perfect email framework and get right into it. So a couple of things I want to talk about with this. There are a lot of facets to the way an email is done, right? So the perfect way, we're going to break down subject line, first sentence, what we need to think about in terms of challenges that the buyer persona is going through. I will reiterate, as I always do, there are very few things in sales to me that are black and white. The things that we do and the things that we don't do, like we don't show up late, we don't insult the client, we don't toss our competitors under the bus. That's the black and white stuff. Everything else that everyone talks about is an art. So this is our way of doing the perfect email, right? Everybody's got their own style and their own theories, but with our art, there's also a little bit of data mixed in. So we'll talk about that. Number one, let's talk about subject line. So this is the most important thing. You guys have heard me wax poetic about this if you've followed me for a long time on LinkedIn, forever. That subject line plus that first sentence is our make or break to even getting that email open. That's our first line of defense. That's what we have to get around. So if our subject line is salesy, if it says something like world-class sales training, if we were going to send that to you, it screams, this is a sales email, right? So we've got to think about our subject line. And as with everything, we always start with show me, you know me. It's framed back here for a reason. It's a hashtag for a reason. We are trademarking it for a reason. It is so important. So what I want you guys to think about with your subject lines is show me, you know me. What research can we do on that company, that person, the vertical, the space, something that's in the news that's going on with that organization? How can we show that buyer that we have done 5 minutes of research on them to earn the five-fold amount of time that we're asking back for them, that 30 minutes, right? It's very, very simple. Now, if you guys are just getting started with show me, you know me, one thing that I'll tell you, cut yourself some slack. It is going to take time for you to learn how to do this efficiently. So even if you're spending 30 minutes, 25 minutes trying to figure out show me, you know me at first, so be it. Right? It's like running a 1 miler. If we want to run it in 7 minutes, that's great. We're not going to be able to do that today, right? Maybe we start at 11 minutes and then we get a little faster the next day and so on and so forth. Same thing with show me, you know me. So even if it takes you some time to figure out what research and to put it together, totally okay. Now, when we do show me, you know me, let's think about a couple of things here, right? So when we look at that first sentence, we've got something on our end that we always talk about that should look a little funky. So if you want to reach out to me, if you want to get my attention, get me to open up your email and respond, think about what you can find on my LinkedIn profile or what's going on with the company. Or, you know, we just brought on our VP of sales this week, Sarah. You can put that in the subject line, right? And say, congrats on your VP of sales. Put something in about Nickelodeon, Barefoot Contessa, where I used to work, people that we know in common, something that you saw in a post that I have on LinkedIn. Any of that can go in the subject line, and you can literally say, you know, Sarah Carcone plus Nickelodeon plus Barefoot Contessa and get my attention. Now, the next thing we want to think about is that first sentence. So let's take a quick look here, right? First sentence, the good, the bad, the really bad. So what we want to think about is being human, right? So there's so many people who say, we don't need to introduce ourselves. We don't need to think about, hello, my name is Sam and this is what I do and this is where I am. But at the end of the day, we're just people reaching out to people. So we don't have to think about salesy gimmicks or exactly the right words that matter. Just show up to a conversation how you would show up to a conversation. So a couple of things we do. One, I always use this first line. We've yet to be properly introduced. I'm Sam McKenna, the CEO of samsales. Here's why I'm reaching out to you. So I start with that. And what I want you to think about with that properly introduced piece is if I do my show me, you know me in the subject line, and then I put that first sentence together and I say, we have yet to be properly introduced. What it does is trigger someone to think, well, hey, they've done their research on me. They know something about me. We've yet to be properly introduced, but maybe somebody meant to introduce us. Let me at least open up this email. That is what we're fighting to do, right? At least get that open to happen. Another thing you guys can do, jump right into the show me, you know me, right? So you don't even have to introduce yourself. Tom, I absolutely loved your post on this. I love this. I saw your article. I listened to your podcast. I have to say, always nice to meet another fan of XYZ, whatever it is. Pop right into the show me, you know me. Get right into it, right? What we want to avoid is the bad. Consulting companies like samsales use our product to do whatever. When we start like that, it says, hey, this is a sales email, which we want to avoid. We want to think about number 2, avoiding that. These days, it's harder than ever to convert leads. When we come up with that again, it also says, hey, this is a sales email. We also want to think about avoiding, again, something that dives right into the sales aspect of it. So are you looking for reps to perform better? And then one other one to just add here, the hope this finds you doing well. So no hope this finds you doing well. No hope this finds your family doing well. No happy Mondays. Is there such a thing as a happy Monday? Happy Friday, maybe, but let's pull back on the rest of that. Skip the niceties. And let me just give you a quick quote, right? We've talked about a quick note here. We've talked about this on other podcasts and other sales trainings we've done. If you are like me and you are manners first, you want to be polite and you're like, well, I want to be polite. I want the niceties. I want to tell them I hope they're finding, I hope I'm finding them doing well. Throw that at the end, just reverse it. So get to the point of your email and then put the nicety at the end. Happy Friday, happy upcoming 4th of July. I know it's still like a month away. Hope you've got some, or not a month away. Oh my gosh, weeks away. Hope you've got some great plans for that. Just put it at the end. It comes across so much more authentic and still allows you to do that politeness and have that in your email, just not at the beginning. Okay. Now we want to think about next, right? After we've done our show me, you know me, we've tied some things together, right? We've said, here's why I'm reaching out. Let me tie the show me, you know me together of what I actually learned about you and how that's authentically tied to me. We need to cut to the chase. So why are we actually emailing them, right? And this is why we want to think about the transition. So on your profile, you're once a contestant on a Nickelodeon game show. It's a child of the 80s, yada, yada, yada. Then what we can say is the transition. While I could talk about that forever, the real reason for my email is XYZ, right? So let's make that transition into here's why I actually emailed you. Next core component, let's think about the value proposition. So value proposition is specific to the buyer. We want to think about their challenge. We want to think about what they're going through. We want to think about what they will lose, not gain, if they don't think about talking to you about your product, right? Loss aversion is huge. So think less about telling somebody you're going to gain 56% more followers if you do XYZ this with us, and just think, here's what you're going to lose. Loss aversion is huge. And then let's think about a specific hook for that buyer. I think people really struggle, especially when they work for a company that does a ton of different things or a product that does a ton of different things. I don't even know where to begin to tell you what samsales does. But what I've got to think about is if I'm talking to a CRO, a VP of sales, a head of enablement, a CMO, what one specific challenge can I solve for them? How can I hook them with that? And then say, this is one of a dozen things we can help you with. Let me focus in on one simple thing, get them to say, we have a challenge with that. I would love her help. What else could she help us with? This is worth my time. So think about that hook. The next thing, and what I see always missing in our sales emails, such an awesome opportunity for improvement here, is the hidden or forthcoming objection. What I need you to think about when you guys give your value proposition, when you give that hook, is to stop and think, what do I most commonly hear as an objection to this? What do you normally get back? So if I say, hey, we can help you with incredible sales training, don't worry, I would never say that in an email. But let's say I said that. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to think, what is that buyer going to object to? What are they going to say? They're going to say, we already have something for that, right? We don't need you. We already have a sales trainer. So we've got to think about what that objection is, because the likelihood of them responding and saying, we don't need you, we already have a sales trainer, is slim to none. And even if they do, then what? Then I have to respond. I have to send an email to validate who I am, why I'm better. Why not just do that in the beginning? Let's up our chances of getting that response by thinking of that hidden or forthcoming objection and saying, you might already have a sales trainer. You might already have a platform like this. I can see by looking, at everything that's available online that you use one of our greatest competitors. Here's why we're different. Get around that objection that we know exists in their mind in that first email. And then let's think about the close. So number one, in outbound prospecting emails, this is a black and white to me. I know everybody differs in opinions. I never send a calendar invite, never send a Calendly link, never send a calendar scheduling link, none of that. That is so presumptuous, right? So if I'm writing an email, my close is going to be, let me know if you've got some time. If you're interested in learning more, I always solicit for interest, right? Let me know, and I'll send a calendar invite along accordingly. I do this for a few reasons. For everybody on the line that's thinking like, oh, that's so convenient, Sam. Like, I just want to schedule, throw the link there and then they can schedule with me. Number one, I want to control the meeting. I don't want the buyer to ever have to think about me, about my schedule, about what I have going on. Plus, it's a little inconvenient for them, right? They've got to pull up my calendar, then look at theirs, then back and forth, and then pick a time. Instead, look at your calendar, you tell me what works for you, and I will figure out how to make it happen. Also, if I'm really busy, I don't want them to navigate around my internal meetings. I'm going to move those internal meetings or whatever I've got, cooking for them. Speed matters. Urgent bird gets the worm, right? Let's move. And then final thing, what if you don't have a lot of meetings? Then somebody's going to look at your calendar and see that you've got no meetings, and they're going to be like, wow, you're really in demand. Can't wait to work with you. So let's just not be presumptuous. Let's not put that calendar link there. And let's just say, let me know what works for you. And I will take the onus on of sending that calendar invite to you. Now, how to actually close, a couple of things. There's some great memes out there around what it means when you sign with best. If you ever get an email from me that's signed with best, watch out, I'm not in a good mood. Sincerely, a little too formal, but you can use a couple of things. Thank you and thanks shows great results from a data perspective. And then we're a little friendlier. And as you can tell, we love our cocktails around here. So we always do a cheers on the end with an exclamation point, because I feel like it's unfriendly otherwise, but that's just me. Make sure the close is just authentic to you, right? So if you use a cheers and then you show up on a Zoom and you're like, hello, I'm very excited to talk to you, not quite so authentic. So just make sure whatever rhetoric and whatever you guys have going on in here, again, is authentic to your own personality and style. All right, with that, always feel like I'm running a race, you guys. I will stop my sharing. Lily, I will pass to you, and I will see who is up first to share. Jim, hi, Jim.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I don't know why my camera isn't on, but that's okay. So my question is this. I totally get the show me, you know me. My default is the hyper personalization approach when I'm reaching out to prospects, but there's sort of two competing thoughts. You want to demonstrate your ability to, you want to demonstrate that you know this person, but you also want to keep the email short.
Yeah.
How do you balance the two? Because one of the things that I'm, kind of crazy about is making sure that the reader doesn't have to scroll, because most people are reading their email on mobile devices. Yeah. So I want to keep it tight as well. So what's the best advice you have in terms of balancing those two priorities?
Great question. So a couple of things. One, I actually don't know what the data is right now. It was surprising to us, but Paige and I were just looking at our marketing stats and found that most people are actually looking at our stuff on desktop. So I don't know if it's changed with pandemic or whatever, but something to consider there. One of the things that I try to think about with the length of an email, it is no longer than 2 thumb swipes, right? So if I'm emailing an executive and that executive has to swipe more than twice with their thumb, right? That's a little bit too long. The interesting thing here too is there's again, lots of voices out there who are like 25 words or less, 50 words or less for an email, cut right to it. Here's the thing, if we are cutting right to it, if we're not including that show me you know me, if we're not finding a way to connect our challenge, their challenge specifically with our value prop, we're really just making it about us. So if we're like, hey, I see you're hiring, we can help you with that. Worth a conversation? No. What have you done to earn my time, right? So we need to show and prove and validate that time spent with us, 30 valuable minutes that they have on their time is going to be worth it for them. So let's make sure that we incorporate that in the email. The other thing I'll say is great stat from Gong, in case anybody from Gong is on the line, feel free to shout out and say hello. But great stat from Gong that talks about the longer emails actually work better than shorter emails. So let's just debunk that theory right now, as long as it is written in human language. So if we've taken the time to do that show me you know me, right? And if then we then succinctly say, here's a challenge you have, here's how I can solve it, here's what you're probably thinking, here's how we're different. Let's talk about that. We're talking 4 or 5 sentences max, right? So we're not talking about paragraphs and paragraphs. But if we do that, if we capture, again, show that we've done our homework, show that we've made that human connection, again, business, personal, whatever it is, and then tie that all together succinctly, we'll get a win, right? It doesn't matter if it's a little bit on the longer side, because we've made that human connection with them.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, great question, Jim. Thanks so much. All right, who do we have up next? Hey, Mark, how are you? Seeing in person last week, virtual this week.
Well, Sam, this is fantastic. I love it. Sorry we missed you on Tuesday, but I guess we're going to do a follow up in July with Jeff. So.
I'll see you soon. A little under the weather this week, but I'm on the up and up.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Show Me You Know Me, and I was looking back at your intro when you did the Show Me You Know Me, or the intro with Ollie and Kyle last month.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And your message was 248 words. Would that have been more than 2 swipes? I just, it was a good email and it did what it was supposed to, but is that kind of a push me, pull me thing where it's too many words?
Yeah, it could be more than 2 swipes. What I think you want to avoid. So if, let's say, we are sending a non-Show Me You Know Me email, right? So we got one this week. We had a weird email from a company called Vehicle Freak that sent us a video about how to renovate our RVs, and we're like, it's a new one on us. All right. Really long, full of information, right? Salesy email. And it was a marketing email. It was kind of like the length of what, Paige sends out with our newsletter every single week. Like, that's a really long email. That's a marketing email. It's not a sales email. So I think even if you go a little bit beyond the 2 thumb swipes, that's okay. Again, as long as you're making that human connection and you're connecting with that person, just make sure what we want to keep short is the value proposition, the challenge that we can solve for that buyer, and then getting around the objection. We want to be able to think about that as the elevator pitch, right? How do we quickly communicate that value to that specific buyer persona? So keeping that as short as we can. If we wax poetic just a little bit longer about that Show Me You Know Me, I don't think our buyers are going to hate us for it, right? If you email Kim on our team and say, oh my gosh, I see you live in Hawaii. I have to tell you, most amazing trip. I took my family. We did this, the volcano. Kim's going to be like, oh my God, let me tell you about our trip back. Like, what an incredible way to connect. So even if that's a little bit longer, I think it's okay. Remember, people talking to people, no sales gimmicks, none of this crap. Just show up authentically and make a human connection, even if it is a smoosh official unit of measure, smoosh longer than we're normally accustomed to.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. A new word.
Thanks, Mark. Smoosh, yeah, official unit of measure there. So nice to meet you. I see one of the, or not meet you, see you, sort of. AJ, I see your comment about Kim. That's exactly right. What an easy way to get through to somebody on our team, Kim, our VP of Enablement and Strategy, who's pretty hard to get through to, right? Because she teaches this for a living, so you've got to really work it. All right, Lily, who are we teeing up next? Hi, Emily. Oh, look at this perfect family.
Hi,
how are you?
So yeah, and I was on the call yesterday as well, and I just love following you, and you have really awesome content. And I love the personalization factor. And I think my question is really, where can you draw the line, right? So I've had clients that don't post anything on LinkedIn, but I've also been super creeper on like Facebook and stuff. But then if I mention things that I've seen on Facebook, doesn't that kind of cross the professionalism line?
I think a really good question. So we were just, and let's think about the how we source the information for Show Me You Know Me, but let's also think about how we present that. So let me start with the latter. We were just working with one of our clients on a workshop just like this, male on the team who said, okay, review my email, let me know how I did. And the subject line said, 3 things I know about you. And we're like, it's a little creepy. So we want to just think about how we present the information that we know, right? So even if he had put those 3 things, right? Like, I think it was a gymnasium at their school being named after his uncle and something else. Just putting those 3 things, right? Showing that we've got a connection to them is enough. Now, where to source this information? Number 1, anything that is on LinkedIn is appropriate. I'll give you a good example with Paige. Paige had her first baby last year, first of many babies last year. And she had seen that somebody was a father and talked about being a dad on LinkedIn. And she was like, can I use this information? Can I connect with them on this? Is that appropriate? Is it not? If it is on LinkedIn, if the perfect person has publicly shared it in a post on their about section, whatever it is, if they talk about volunteering for something, completely appropriate. It is a professional platform. They've opted to share it. Go for it. So Paige did just that. What did she get back? The person responded immediately, shared some parenting advice. We got a meeting. Lo and behold, it doesn't always have to be relevant back to exactly what we're talking about from a corporate perspective. We talk about work all day long. Talk to me about my dogs. Tell me something that, where that you love following me on LinkedIn and specifically something that resonated with you, right? Again, that just human connection is everything. I also just like to look, Twitter's fine. It's tougher to find information on Twitter, but I also just do a quick Google of their name, podcast, webinar, conference, something like that. See if they've spoken recently. Have they been on a podcast? Let me just give you a quick hint here. The very, very slim number of people who listen to executive podcasts and pull a quote to tie it back to something in their life, it doesn't exist. So we've got CROs, CEOs, SVPs of sales who are doing content all the time. 5-minute snippets here, TED Talk there, on a podcast. There is no shortage of sales, marketing, enablement podcasts out there. Do a quick Google, see if you can find their information. Take 10 minutes to listen to their podcast and see if you can come up with something. Finally, if none of that exists, if they're not giving us anything, go to their website. What's going on with the company? What do they have as an announcement recently? How can we tie that back to something we do? Just a quick example there. We were working with one of our UK clients a couple months ago, and they were trying to get into a bank. And so they're like, we can't get into this bank. There's nobody that lists anything on LinkedIn. They haven't, reviewed any of our information, opened up our emails. What do we do? And I'm like, let's go to their website. So their website talked about a recent announcement of their valuation and how they're now looking to double their revenue in the next year. I'm like, how are they going to do that? How are they going to double their revenue? What's the plan? What's the strategy? Have they thought this through? You guys are a perfect fit for exactly something that they can do to double their revenue. Pull that quote out, talk about that recent announcement, talk about how you can impact that, say that you'd love to offer some strategies to them, just like you do for all of your other clients. And if nothing else, right, of things that they can think about that doesn't even involve you. What an amazing way to just say, I know your business. I understand what's going on with you guys. I have some ideas of how we can help you. Even if you don't use us, we'll give you some strategies that work for our other clients. Somebody's going to take a 30-minute call to share something with you and hopefully learn something. One more quick side note on that, just about tying value together. We did this for a land and expand client for one of the largest broadcasting companies around. So they came to us and they said, we're trying to get C-suite alignment for one of our land and expand accounts. Can you look at our email and tell us what we did wrong? So we basically had an SVP of sales at this massive broadcast company. You guys all know the company that I'm talking about. Reach out to the CIO of another company and say, hey, you've been a client with ours for a long time. Thanks. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help you, expand and AKA spend more money with us. Let me know when you're up for a chat. Great. So what we actually want to say is, hey, I see you're going through digital transformation. We're a huge part of that. We can help you with digital transformation, but given that we're part of it, we can probably share, these 3 strategies, or if in digital transformation, you're thinking about these 3 things, we can probably help you with some ideas outside of just what we can do for you. A CIO is going to take that call, or he's going to make his VP or his second in command or her second in command take that call, right? That's what we have to think about. Are we adding value, and are we finding ways to find that information online to then show that we've done that homework? Very long-winded answer. Helpful, Emily? Yes, great.
Super helpful, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for saying hello again. All right, Lily, who do we have up next? Hi, Rebecca. God, babies galore today.
Hey.
Loving it. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I had a question for you. It definitely applies in the prospecting side of things, but I've heard this objection even more and more after I've had an initial meeting, which is, thank you so much. What you provide, I can see a huge value add to what it is we do here, but there's so many competing priorities. Like, I just don't have time right now. And so what is your best kind of follow-up or reaction to how to navigate that most effectively?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think the competing priorities thing often comes back to, did we do our job in terms of communicating value and the kind of cost of inaction? So when we're talking to a client, we have 100 competing priorities at samsales, right? Like, there's so many things that we need to get done. So to me, a salesperson can do an incredible job of really talking through what they can do to help us is the priority. I look at that as our opportunity to be consultative sellers, right? To really understand what's going on with the business, what their priorities are, what their initiatives are. I also love to just understand, right? A very core part of the selling process for me is how is that person measured, right? So if you guys are trying to sell Sarah, our new VP of sales, what you've got to think about is number one, she's drinking from the fire hose. Number two, how is she measured, right? How is she going to get a raise at the end of the year? How is she going to do what matters to her most? Make more money, right? When we're in sales. So you've got to think about it of that. Like, are we truly asking our buyers what's going on, what they're trying to achieve, how they're measured, how we can help them? It's magic when you're on a call and you can say, I'm sure you have 100 competing priorities. Here's something that you want to think about. And here's how we can also make impact specifically to your bottom line and how you are reviewed. Now we can say it more tactfully than that, or if we have a good relationship, we can just be really bold about it as well. But that's what it comes back to. So when I hear we have competing priorities, you're not one of them, that may actually be true, right? But oftentimes when we hear that, and when we hear we don't have budget, it's because we didn't do our job correctly in that discovery or in that proving value part. I always go back to the budget thing too. Think about how many people in February of 2020 said, Zoom, you're cute, we don't have budget for you. And then in March of 2020, everybody had budget. Why? Because there was a challenge and there was value and there was a need. So we found different places to pull budget, or we found different team members to make sure that we could help make what you can do for them a priority.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Alex, good to see you, man. I can't hear you or see you yet, but we're going to get there.
What's going on, Sam? It's always good to hear from you.
You too, man. Thanks for saying hi.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't put my camera on, but I will talk.
I can't wait.
Yeah, no, I like that. My question was a similar one to the other one asked about like just having this, nothing you could find on LinkedIn and about the, the company. Maybe just like the structure of an email, like what's the first thing you go to? Is it something like the company is doing? What's your opinion about like just talking about what people like them do, like their persona? Because, I know you want to show them, them, but like, would you lean farther on the pendulum towards like talking about the company or talking about their role? As a VP of learning and development, in my case, I'm going after which is a lot of people that aren't that active on LinkedIn, and it's tough to find stuff about them.
Sometimes. We'll get them there one way or
yeah,
another.
Totally.
I think a couple of things. So let's kind of break up the two pieces. So let's think about the show me, me first, right? Whatever we can find on that person, if they're not super active on LinkedIn, I'll focus on either the company or the role. If you know L&D really well, right? Their buyers, the challenges they have, how they buy, how they sell, what they do internally. If you know that space really well, let's talk about that. And for me, I've kind of double majored in law firm sales my whole life. So if I'm going to reach out, I don't think a lot of people actually know, but if I'm going to reach out to sell to lawyers or to help train lawyers or reach out to somebody that supports lawyers, I'm going to talk about my core competency with attorneys, because that's going to set me apart, understanding that space, because most people that sell to law firms don't actually know law firms very well. Or I would say a healthy portion don't know law firms that really well. So if I can set myself apart by saying, I really understand you, your space, what you do, how you're measured, all that, I will. If you are 6 minutes into selling L&D and you're like, I have absolutely no idea what they do, let's focus on the company instead. I hate the phrase fake it till you make it, but let's at least try to show that we understand what's going on with the company and tie that show me, me to them. But I would say that the buyer persona, if you know that well and you know their space well, that supersedes, the show me, me on the company over that. The thing about the challenge, right? So I always just really like to focus on tying the show me, me if I can to the challenge. So if I, let's say I'm targeting, we had a great conversation this week with a very large data company. And one of the things that I saw on that person's profile before is that they're connected to a whole lot of people at Sales Navigator. At LinkedIn sales at LinkedIn. So one of the things that I could do in that cold outreach, if I had to do cold outreach to that person, is to say, I see you are connected to an inordinate amount of my previous peers at LinkedIn. I suspect that means you probably have an inordinate amount of LinkedIn Sales Navigator licenses. And like many of our clients, before they come to us, you're probably wondering how you can maximize usage of this, and it's probably not being used to its full potential. So I'm trying to get somebody to, I'm trying to say, like, I've done my homework. I see who you're connected to. I have a hypothesis based on this, right? And like our clients, before they came to us, you probably want to maximize usage of this platform. I'm trying to get that person to say, she's right, now what, right? And try then to go in for the kill. Now, just real quick with that, if I then said, we can help train your teams on Sales Navigator, up for a chat, he's going to be like, no, we have a CSM for that. We don't need you, right? So I always come back to this example that I need to know that. I need to know whether it's a CSM at LinkedIn or whether it's a competing product that's the incumbent. I've got to come back to what is the objection they're going to say, and then say, while you might have a CSM, while you might already have a sales trainer for LinkedIn Sales Navigator, let me tell you how our firm is different succinctly, right? So even if you can tie that show me, you know me, and the value proposition and how you built that hypothesis, even better.
Gold as always. Please, I need to bring you in. How can I connect you to my enablement person?
I mean, I guess we'll take your business, Alex. Yeah. Sarah is ready. She's here. She's here to take your donations.
That is not a donation. I would be investing in my company's bottom line.
You've spoken like a true sales professional. This is an investment. It's not a cost.
No, great.
Thank you,
Gold
Alex.
as always. Love it.
Thanks. Great to hear from you. Thank you. Hi, Anna or Anna?
Hey.
Almost hear you.
Opa! Hello.
Opa! How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Are you chili pepper, Anna?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what a chili pepper is.
It's a lot of things. Hats off to any chili peppers on the phone. I was just talking to another, is it Anna or Anna?
It's Anna.
I was just talking to another Anna from Chili Pepper today, but welcome. Would love to hear your questions. Thanks for coming on camera. Nice to see your face.
Oh, I'm so grateful that I could come on. I was invited by a friend and I'm so glad that I joined in. This is super helpful. So kudos to you on that. Here, let me see. Let me share my screen. I wanted to go over just like an email that I sent. My screen is freezing up. Oh no. Let's see if it works. Says that.
I do adore Zoom, but it always freezes when that happens. I'm excited you're sharing your screen. No luck.
This is so great. It's telling me to update my system preferences, of course.
You know what? We'll send somebody first, but if you want to send your email to Paige, Paige, at samsalesconsulting.com. She can share for you next, and then we can tee up the next person in the meantime.
Perfect. Let's do that. I'll let you go on to the next person.
On the spot. All right.
Sounds
thanks.
good.
Talk to you in a minute. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear fine. How's it going?
Good, thank you. I wanted to ask some questions in general, just around follow-up emails and what you think is best practice as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I feel like I really struggle to come up with compelling events or creative ideas.
Welcome to the club. We got you though. What's cooking?
Well, in particular, I have one deal that's been dragging on for some time, and aside from like the end of the quarter deadline, I'm trying to just think of like creative ways that I can put it back in front of them, or figure out what their intentions really are.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it just feels like I've started to write the email a few times and nothing feels that compelling.
Yeah. I think this is great. And, most of these questions, when we get these things, they always come back to what we did before, like way before, right? So even just thinking about this isn't a priority for us right now. How did we get here, right? What was it that got us to this point? So I think a couple of things, right? Number one, if I will say, please don't do what's the date today? The 17th, signed by the 30th. of June, right? There's 30, right? 30th of June, and we'll give you 98% off. Don't do that, right? And because we know those are artificial deadlines, we know even if you can discount, right, it just like it devalues our product. And the number one thing that it's going to do to your buyers is be like, well, what will the offer be like on the 29th? I'm just going to sit on this, right? And then continue to see if they can get an additional discount. So I would always avoid that. One of the other interesting things I'll tell you just about like leadership wise or me protecting myself as an AE. One of the things that I shared quite some time ago is I was at President's Club one year. I had already hit my number for the quarter. This was April of a particular year. And I remember my boss coming in and being like, when are you going to close that deal? That's how he talked. If he's on the line, I'm going to be scared. But I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to close it until May. There's absolutely nothing that's going to be able to get it over the line until May. And he's like, you have to get this deal in for April. We need it. I need it for my forecast, et cetera. And he's like, just give him a discount. And so my response was, are you going to give me full quota credit even if I give a discount? And he was like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll try my best. And then I didn't try my best at all. So keep that in mind too, right? As you guys are chasing deals and pushing deals, if you are already done for the quarter, yes, time kills deals. And yes, we want to get those over the line as fast as possible, but not at your detriment for a 20 or 25% discount, right? Be smart and be protective of the revenue that you're driving for the organization. We got the deal in at full price in May, all was well. And there were no accelerators, by the way, for me getting it in April. So good to go there. Other thing that I would just say, thinking back before, is are we establishing, a mutual action plan? I hate most salesy words. So I hate the mutual action plan. I'm like, I'm going to send you a mutual action plan and you're going to do this and I'm going to do this. However, we can have these conversations again as humans in the sales process to say, let's walk through urgency for this. So we're putting together a proposal. I'd love to understand, what's your timeline? When are you hoping to do this by, right? So if somebody says we want this out of the box on implemented, et cetera, by July 1st, or by August 1st, September 1st, that lets us walk back, build kind of that artificial, what we need to do and by when timeline so that we can get an agreement on that. If we're not even having a conversation about what's the urgency, when's the rollout date, can we both commit to getting this done by June 20th? We have talk about also how the fact that your procurement is overwhelmed at the end of the quarter. That's one thing that you can do either at the end of the quarter or at the end of the year to build in a little bit of incentive that's tied to logic. So, I would say to you, Sarah, I know we want to get this deal done by the end of the quarter, as we've mutually agreed upon. One of the things that we can do, if we can actually get it signed by the 20th, we can offer a very small discount. It's something that our procurement team offers just because they're always overloaded and then working 18-hour days. If we can get it signed by then and take some of that work off of their plate, be happy to add a little bit of discount. So there's an urgency, it's tied to logic. And once that date expires, it expires. The pricing discount expires because we haven't done, the favor for procurement that we said that we were going to do. I love this for the end of the year as well. Let's sign before Thanksgiving, right? We can give you a small discount for that. If you guys are able to discount, but tie to logic and make sure you're getting something in return. And let's just make one more thing clear. I could talk about discounting forever. Never discount without getting something in return or just out of the gate, right? So don't ever send a proposal and say, we've got plenty of discounting ability. Just let me know what works budget-wise. I see that happen a lot of the time. So make sure you don't do that either. If you haven't done that mutual action plan, that timeline, before, let's make sure that you do it moving ahead. For this deal specifically, how's your relationship with the client? Have you built a relationship with the client? Do we know them well, or is it just like very stiff and formal?
No, I would say we know them pretty well. We've spent a lot of time with them and they did seem to be pretty bought in.
Yeah. Do you have a personal relationship with any of the buyers or the decision maker or the budget holder, like personal?
I'm
going to say that's a no.
Yeah, no. We have a
no.
business relationship and we've connected on personal things. Like I know things, about them, but it wasn't like we have a personal relationship outside of that business relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I'll just leave you with a couple of comments here. So one, we talk about show me, you know me. We talk about show me, you know me, how it bleeds through every single part of the buying process. And I think every single call that we have with our clients offers us an opportunity to learn something new about them on a personal level. So when we even think about follow-up emails, nurturing emails, right, we can nurture our buyers with all sorts of compelling content, articles, podcasts, invite you to this executive roundtable. We can also nurture them with the things that we learn about them, right? So what do they love to do on the weekends? Do you have a funny like dog video to send them? One of our clients is moving to Denver. I sent her a, mansion that was in a movie article. And I was like, I found your new place. It was like $5.8 million, obviously in jest, but it's a touch point. It's a way for us to continue building that relationship and nurturing. When you start to do that, when you build kind of those personal threads, when you have that exchange, when you email each other about something that has nothing to do with work, but is about the relationship that you've built, you also have earned the right to send them an email to say, I know that we're not the top of your priority list by any means. We're not the center of your universe, but wanted to just ask you, I know we all have jobs to do. We're closing out the quarter in 10 days. Do you feel like there's anything that precludes us from being able to sign this contract by the end of the quarter? Would just love your feedback. I love to be a person of my word, in our forecasts and the commits that I make to the company. So I'd love to adjust my forecast if there's, if there's some reason that we're going to have to shift to next quarter, right? Again, it's tied to logic. You're using that relationship to be able to connect with them and then say, I need a favor, without quite saying you need a favor, but you have to have that relationship built before you can do that. Otherwise, you can still use the logical part of it, right? Like, I like to be a person of my word. We want to sign by the end of the quarter. Just note that it might come as a surprise to them if we haven't established that they're definitely going to sign by the end of the quarter.
That's really helpful, Sam. Thank you.
Yeah, great question, Sarah. Thanks for asking. Thanks for listening to my long-winded answers.
Oh, no, it's good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Anna, you are back up. Do we have a successful screen share ready and up?
All right, let's give it a go, Sam. Here we go.
All right.
Opa. You see it? It's working.
I can see it. Okay.
Amazing. So how do you go about, do you need some background on this, or
yes,
how would you typically go?
Tell us the scoop. So who is Michelle? Tell us the scoop here.
So Michelle just got promoted to Director of Patient and Consumer Marketing at Gilead, which is a pharma company. And I recently started up this job. I have like a business development background within product, but this is the first time I'm working within professional services. So I've never worked within an agency vibe before. I'm used to like having good, better, best, and like having the personas like you were mentioning earlier, like the VP of finance, having Judy Juggler, Susie Season. Like, I'm used to having all that knowledge, but this is a small company. We don't have personas. I'm just trying to connect with as many people as possible so I can learn about common problems to see if the services that we offer can benefit them. So I want to make sure that within every email, at least there could be something valuable, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And so obviously after, listening to your lesson at the beginning, I would totally remove the, I hope you are well part, super cringe. So now that's, so do you want me to read the message, or how would you like to go about this?
No, I think this is good. So, and I think probably everybody's had a chance to read it while you were chatting. I would say just a couple of things. So, something that sticks out to me that you just said that I think a lot of people probably have in their minds as well. I'd love to talk to them. I'd love to learn what their challenges are. I'd love to learn to see if we can be of help to them. When we're talking about a director level for a company of this size, who's also new in their job, there is zero shot in hell they are going to give us the time, right, to educate us. That is our job. So I would say that's one thing. Keep that in mind. We talk about this a lot, the hashtag semantics matter. The word choice that we put forward really matters. So when we say like, I'd love to hear more about what you're doing and to see if we can be of help, I would love to hear about your initiatives and tell you how I know we can fit into that, or I know we can make impact, or if you are focused on these three things, and get that buyer to be like, I am focused on two of these three things. If you're focused on these three things, like most of our clients are, I'm sure that I can share some strategies of how we can help you, but again, how we can be of help to you, how we can give you some ideas otherwise that can be of help to you. So you're basically signing up for a discovery call, right? Like, we're here to sell you something, but in 30 minutes, you should be able to learn something from me.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to say is it was briefly on our sheet, but I was remiss in mentioning it. We also talk about our value proposition in a very specific way. So we want to think about, most organizations do the 30,000 foot level of their value proposition. We help you with sales training, right, at samsales. That's our 30,000 foot. But what do you actually do, right? I have no idea. So we talk about, again, a hashtag, what's your 300? What's your 300 foot view? So let me take a look at this, right? If we just quickly read this, in short, we partner with 150 brands, UCB, Siemens, Google. PS, if Anna had sent this to me and said, Sam, we partner with UCB, Siemens, and Google, I'd be like, that's adorable. Our revenue is not quite their size just yet. So one, just kudos to you, right? At least they're within similar spaces and similar revenue spaces as well. So you partner to generate evidence needed to guide decisions at I'm already a little bit asleep.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know what you do. So think about this. We can look at her previous role. We can see what she got promoted to. We can make some assumptions, build a hypothesis around things that she's focused on. If you're still new to this space, ask your colleagues, ask your boss's boss, someone should know what it is that you can do. And then say, I suspect, like many of our clients, many people in the same role, right, that we work with, that you're in, you are focused on these three things. This is one of your core, broader, overarching challenges. Sarah at samsales, I suspect one of the things you are most focused on is how to drive as much pipeline as you possibly can right out of the gate. Sarah's going to say, I sure am. What do you have for me? Instead of saying, we can offer you the latest in innovation, and blah, 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 blah. Again, cut to the chase of what that person cares about in a very specific way, prove value, get around that head nor forthcoming objection. You'll nail it, right? You'll clean up in terms of meetings.
Awesome.
Helpful?
I'm super, super helpful. I'm super grateful for it. Thank you so much. I totally agree.
And thanks to your friend for recommending us to you.
Cheers, Sam.
All right, thanks. All right, Lily. Mark, how's it going?
Hey, Sam, good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just fine.
Awesome. Yeah, so I just had a quick question about Vidyard or videos versus text email. And what your view on that was.
Yeah, a couple of things. We just had breakfast, Paige and I, with Tyler Lessard, and we did fast forward this week with Vidyard. So big fans of Vidyard in general. If Tyler's on, don't forget, we want you to sign our contract. Anyway, here's what I think about video. So I think video is great. I think a couple of things. Even though we have been in a pandemic for however long and we've been on Zoom forever, I think it's really important, if we're going to use video as part of our process, that we know how to look good on video, right? So to make sure that we don't have massive backgrounds in front of us that are really distracting. An unmade bed, I saw that the other day and I'm like, that's attractive. We also want to make sure that we're not reading off of a script. Mark, it's really nice to talk to you, and I would love to talk to you about how we can help you. None of that, right? Or that it's just the top of our heads as we're reading from something down below.
Yeah.
So make sure you're good on camera. I personally don't use video, or our team doesn't use video for prospecting. I just have some opinions on that. But here's a couple of things that I love. I love videos for nurturing. I love video for follow-up. I love video for delivering proposals. So especially if I'm working, let's say, with 2 or 3 people, and they say, we're on board, we're so excited, we're going to take your proposal, everything we've learned, we're going to present it back to a committee, we're going to pass this along and then meet as a team. If I don't have access to the people that are making decisions for whatever reason, even though we always try to, we don't always multi-thread to the highest levels that we aim to. I want to put together a video, right? I want to show my passion, my enthusiasm, my competency. I want to show how I present myself, what I can talk about, what I've learned. Just give them something that's, 45, 60 seconds that they can listen to and say, well, this person's different, right? The way that we come across in video is hopefully so much better than how we just come across on flat paper. So what an awesome thing to use, and just show that personality for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. I think you're right. Like the follow-up, not for direct prospecting, but for some of the other elements that you mentioned, I think that's a smart move. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for asking. Nice to hear from you, Mark.
Okay.
Jennifer.
Ooh, just in time.
Just in time.
All right. I've got a 1 p.m., but I'm sure we'll only take a few minutes. First of all, I love the content you put out. I love being a Shorts subscriber, and I do have a Sam proposal in front of us, and I know that we will get to a place where we're working together.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah. So do
Thanks
I
for subscribing.
I do need to join as a panelist, right? In order to show.
you should be good. You're in as a panelist, I think.
Yeah, I just promoted you to panelist, so you should be good. You need to share.
You're on mute now.
And I was continuing to talk. All right. So Show Me You Know Me, love it. We use it, but it does take a lot of time. Once in a while, I feel as though there are events happening in the world or a sentiment that is universal enough where it's appropriate to like craft an email, and I don't want to use the word blast, but blast it.
Yeah.
So, give me your opinions on this. I will.
Yeah, let's see. Okay.
Okay, so a lot of talk around the economy, shifts in the economy, inflation. What about something like slowing job market means cutting costs or cutting recruiting costs or cutting costs per hire?
Yeah. So I think great call out, right? So if we know that there's something super obvious happening that is also going to impact our clients and that we can either help with, totally fine to reference like this. So it is, I wouldn't say it's blast, it's a scalable way to get that out, right? And to still say like, that buyer persona, something that they're thinking about. I think this is great though. So you've got, is your subject line, this is different, I think, than you were just showing, right?
We're going to do some A/B testing, and this just happened this morning, and I have a hunch that I'll get a higher open rate than where we're at right now, but thought about doing some A/B testing.
So this is a great view, actually. Just leave it here, if you will. Shout out to Outreach, by the way. We love Outreach. Just real quick. So if you guys look at all of this, right? So if we say same subject lines, slowing job market means cutting costs, cutting recruiting costs, cutting costs per hire with a slowing job market, many T&A leaders, et cetera. When I look at all three of those, I know it's a sales email, right? Sure. So the thing that I would say for changing these is we're burying the lead. So what about you guys, right? What's the value proposition? What's the hook? 60%, did I see that number in there?
You're probably thinking about 80% the fact that, we generated 4 times the amount of qualified candidates as a recruiting team of 5. I will say I'm testing a few different stats here, something like, a cost per hire less than an internal referral bonus.
That's a great hook. Like, let's put that as our subject line.
That is okay.
A cost per hire that equals less than a referral bonus. Interesting? Question mark? Right? That's interesting. I hate referral. Well, I love referral bonuses. I just don't need to pay them. But think about what referral bonuses are like, right? $1,500, 25, 5,000, depending on the level of person we're looking for. Don't bury that lead, right? So if we're going to do something that is broader, right? Or even just saying something about, I think that is a great hook. I would love to see how that tiers out better than anything else. But talk about, if we're going to do something that's a little bit broader like that, right? Let's talk about what the news is, but then let's talk about our specific value prop. The one thing I was going to say, I thought, I think I was wrong, right? That it was 80%, and you were talking about how people spend their days. Keep in mind, we never want data in that email. One, we can reduce your thing by 7x, 48%, increase pipeline by 19%. No data. This is specifically, hello, I hand wrote this for you. I'm showing you I know you. Here's the challenge. Here's how I can solve it. Interested in a chat. That's it. So if you've got links in your thing other than in your subject line, if you've got, or in your signature block, data, white papers that you're noting, any kind of volume, anything that you can do, take that right out. Let me know how that goes, Jennifer, on all fronts.
I totally will.
Thanks for saying hi.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Pac. Oh gosh, 4 minutes to go. Okay, we have one more we can rock and roll with. Hi, Mary. How's the new job going?
It's going good. I'm way out of my element, but happy.
Excited to see you next week in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see you and Paige and the rest of the group.
Yeah.
All right. I think I could share my screen.
Let's see it.
Maybe. Okay. I don't see how to share my screen. There's no, there it is.
Should be at the bottom and the center-ish. Any luck there?
Okay.
You got it?
Yep.
Hi.
Okay, here we go. Sorry.
No, you're good. Okay. You're
so
good.
while I'm pulling this up, I'll give some quick background.
Let's hear it. Yeah.
So this is this email was sent to a specific lit conference list.
Okay. While you pull this up, Mary, I know we've got 3 minutes to go. Just a quick thing again, you guys, if this was helpful, number one, I think Paige is going to drop in, if she hasn't already, the link to our next webinar in July, which is all things Sales Navigator. So if you're like, I have it and I don't know how to use it, come hang out with us. And then also, if this was helpful to you, post on LinkedIn on our behalf, give us a tag, give us a shout out, help other people see what we do and the quality of our content. We'll be eternally grateful and give you all the virtual high fives. So thank you in advance for that. All right, Mary, let's see it. Okay.
All right, so this is the email. Show me you know me was not well implemented in this. They're like, here's a list. Can you send out your first email? I was like, okay, I just don't know the product yet, but yes.
Okay, let's see. Of Document Crunch. Sorry, Mary, are you at Document Crunch?
I am, yes.
Okay, perfect. Just to let the audience know too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So let's see. You recently attended our CEO was a speaker who shared his vision of a brighter future when it comes to understanding managing construction contracts. Valuable tool in the contract review process, identifies critical provisions and helps you protect your teams from potential risks. Cool. So I would say a couple things. I think you probably already know some of these answers, right? I would say being NECA San Diego can be enough of a hook. It can also be the same exact subject line that 78 other people who sponsored or had a booth or met them there or whatever did. So I'd take it, especially for higher titles, I'd take it one step further, add that show me you know me, or maybe even just write plus Document Crunch, something different to stand out. I would take it one step further and do the show me you know me on that person. I also realize that speed matters here, right? Speed to lead. So think about, if you have 15 or 20 or 30 people that are like, I must talk to these people. And I would make the time investment in those individuals. Do not only the conference plus that show me you know me. What a great way to knock it out of the park. You recently attended? I know I did. So we can take that part out, right? And do something different and say, you may have caught our CEO, Josh Levy, speaking. And I'd love to chat with you about how Document Crunch can help whatever organization specifically. Then it's as easy as that. Add your show me you know me in there if there's something that you can tie authentically to. And then I would just say, when I think about Document Crunch can be a valuable tool, I already have a valuable tool. We already know how to understand negotiation and project execution. So to me, right, I don't know the specific value prop. If you have a way of seeing who the incumbent is, who your competitor is that they're using, what do you do better, right? How can you solve a challenge that you know that they don't have, or an offering that they don't have that you can solve right here? And then again, getting around that hidden or forthcoming objection. I'll give you just a quick example for that. When I worked at On24, a virtual webinar platform that many of you probably know, we sold against WebEx all the time. WebEx was like 99 bucks a month, and we were like $3,000 a month, and people are like, I'm not going to pay for you. So I would think about, what I would say is we had something really fantastic called an analytics score that I knew that WebEx didn't have. So I would go and say, I would love to understand how you're making your engagement score, how you're making use of your engagement score, and how you're using that to convert your post-event leads at a higher rate. So what I'm going to get somebody to say is, well, I don't have an engagement score. What is that? And what can you do for me? So I'm saying something that I already know that they don't have. It's like when you're trying to steal somebody's boyfriend and you're like, tell me how often your girlfriend does this for you, brings you flowers or like whatever. And they're like, well, they don't. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. Not that I've ever used that move before, don't worry. But again, just think about that specific tangible value. And again, the hidden or forthcoming objection before you send these off.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Can I ask a 10-second question?
You got it.
So I'm in the construction industry, reaching out to risk management, legal, totally different approach than previous. How I'm struggling with all these like big phrases, critical provisions, all like just get so dense, and they don't want to read more dense shit, right? Like,
yeah.
oh, sorry.
It's okay. So what are you struggling with specifically? Sorry.
So I'm trying to make all the things we do, but make it more condensed and not so legalese for teams that already are doing this. And that might be just me learning product more and ways to phrase it more. But I'm only like 3 weeks in.
Yeah. As you ramp, so what I would think about as you ramp is what are 2 or 3 things that you know are common challenges, or again, common things that you do differently for the buyers that you're reaching out to. Ask your peers, and ask your boss, your boss's boss, whoever knows that. Again, if you ask Sam Sales, right, what do you guys do? Well, it depends. Who are you, right? It's such a challenge for us to tell you exactly what we do without understanding more about your business and who the buyer persona is. But once we know size of business, Series A, or, a Salesforce size and the buyer persona, we can think of one tangible, specific challenge that person has and say, we can help you with this amongst 100 other things that we can do for your teams. I have to bait you in with one thing to show you I'm going to be worth your time, not in a broad way.
Got it. Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Thanks for being open to doing that. You guys, what a phenomenal use of time. Hopefully this was for me. I had a blast. So thanks for, if nothing else, entertaining me. Love to do these sessions with you guys. Thank you for showing up. Thanks for any kudos you throw us on LinkedIn. We will see you again for the next one in July. And in the meantime, have a wonderful 4th of July holiday, everybody. And thanks for all your engagement. We really appreciate you. Bye, everyone.